Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q1 FY22 conference call of Shemaroo Entertainment Limited, hosted by Valorem Advisors. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on the touchtone phone. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Anuj Sonpal, CEO at Valorem Advisors. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Sonpal.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to you all. My name is Anuj Sonpal from Valorem Advisors. We represent the investor relations of Shemaroo Entertainment Limited. On behalf of the company, I would like to thank you all for participating in the company's earnings conference call for the first quarter of financial year 2022. Before we begin, I would like to mention a short cautionary statement. Some of the statements made in today's earnings conference call may be forward-looking in nature. Such forward-looking statements are subject to risks and uncertainties which could cause actual results to differ from those anticipated. Such statements are based on management's beliefs as well as assumptions made by and information currently available to management. Audiences are cautioned not to place any undue reliance on these forward-looking statements in making any investment decisions. The purpose of today's earnings conference call is purely to educate and bring awareness about the company's fundamental business and financial quarter under review. Now let me introduce you to the management participating with us in today's earnings call. We have with us Mr. Hiren Gada, CEO and CFO, and Mrs. Kranti Gada, Chief Operating Officer. Now, without any further delay, let me ask Mr. Hiren Gada to give his opening remarks. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Anuj. Good afternoon, everybody. It's indeed a pleasure to welcome all of you all to the earnings conference call for the first quarter of the financial year FY22. I hope that everyone is keeping safe and well. Let me start by giving you the key financial highlights first. For the first quarter of the financial year 22, the operational income stood at 75 crores. EBITDA for the quarter stood at 7 crores. EBITDA margin stood at 9.56%. Net loss after tax reported was 1.4 crores. For Q1 22, expenses on the new initiatives net of revenues were at 16.6 crores. If you were to adjust for these investments in new initiatives, the adjusted EBITDA from the existing operations would have been approximately 24 crores for Q1 FY22, representing a margin of 32%. Digital media revenues stood at around 40 crores, which were up 19% year on year. Traditional media revenues stood at 34 crores, which were down 34% year on year. Due to the advent of the second wave of COVID-19 and the resultant lockdown, advertising, subscription and syndication revenues continue to remain under pressure for this quarter, and this impact was felt more in traditional media than in the digital media. However, we believe that with states unlocking and vaccination drive underway, consumer and business sentiments across sectors will improve in the coming months, thereby driving the economic recovery for the media and entertainment sector. We continue to take adequate steps to improve operations and rationalize those businesses that have been severely impacted due to COVID-19. Further, on the digital media front, I am happy to report that the digital media revenues are back on the growth track despite the impact of the loss of revenue from the telcos business over the last few quarters. This has been driven by the strength of our content library, newer revenue streams that we have been able to build, and of course the sector's underlying growth. Further, Shemaroo, so we crossed 53 million subscribers on our YouTube channel Filmy Gaane, and the channel continues to be the 21st most subscribed channel in the world. Furthermore, Shemaroo was also the distribution partner for a docu-series titled Alma Matters Inside the IIT Dream, released on Netflix. We also rolled out Shemaroo Me's B2C strategy this quarter on the back of Shemaroo Me Gujarati, with an impressive lineup of direct-to-digital movie releases and original web series with leading star cast. This was aided by an extensive marketing campaign both on television and digital media. Through this, we intend to make Shemaroo Me the most prominent OTT video destination for the Gujarati audience. Shemaroo Me also partnered with Zain, STC and Mobily in Saudi Arabia and Etisalat in UAE. Further, for the global distribution of Shemaroo Me on Android TV devices, we have partnered with Zeeson, a smart TV solutions provider. On the broadcasting venture front, we continued investing into our broadcasting channels, Shemaru Marathi Bana and Shemaru TV. While both the channels witnessed an uptake in monetization through advertisements, the second wave of COVID-19 affected the advertising spends by brands in this quarter. Shemaru Marathi Bana maintained consistent ratings throughout the quarter, the Shemaru Marathi Bana has built a strong connect of the brand in a very short period of time. Though Shemaru TV started in a challenging economic and competitive scenario, but the company is strengthening its proposition through a focused approach towards building programming, marketing and distribution. In conclusion, we are hopeful that now with the settling of the second wave, along with the aggressive vaccination drive, most of the world, including India, is likely to go back to normalization by second half of the year, and we should see a significant revival across all our business segments as well. With that, I open the floor for questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to withdraw yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Shikha Mehta from Equitree Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. I hope you're keeping safe. I just had a few questions from my end. So, the current scenario, are you seeing any improvements in the ad spend as on this quarter, as on Q2, or is it similar to how it was last quarter?
So, if I have to say, so July is probably towards the end of the month, and if I were to compare it with the scenario we saw during the peak of wave 2, which is roughly, you could say, mid-April to end of May, From there, definitely the things are better. But if I were to map it with where we were, say, during the Jan to March period, we are definitely lower yet.
Okay. And do you have any insights on when you see this improving a bit or even coming back to Jan to March levels or something of that sort? Or is it right now just too early to give an opinion on that?
So definitely it is a little early yet, but I would just add a couple of aspects that the way we are seeing things. One is also, so one is of course, whether there is a third wave or not, I think is something that, a lot of people are kind of speculating and to an extent have been holding back. I think once, the vaccination drive reaches a certain critical mass, already the last month or so has accelerated quite well. I think the confidence of consumers and therefore of brands will definitely be much stronger. Secondly, if we look at literally from mid-August, around 15th August, the next almost 6 months period is a very strong festive period. So you have Ganpati, you have Dussehra, Navratri, Diwali, Christmas, etc. So in a way we are headed into a festive period which normally is associated with a lot of product launches, with a lot of brands, money, etc. We believe that if we don't see a third wave, we should see a good comeback of advertising revenues overall. Advertising spends rather. Let me put it that way.
Right. Correct. Also, so if you could give us some insights on the IRR you're currently generating on your inventory. I understand, like you said in your opening remarks, that our EBITDA margins, if we don't include the investments in new initiatives, is much better. So if you could, just to give a better view, if you could give the IRR you're generating on your inventory.
So at a content level, it is we are on an average, we are getting up around between 18 and 19%. But given the fact that syndication etc. has been low key for few quarters now, thanks to the overall COVID-led scenario, that content is in the inventory, and what we are seeing in the landscape is that the overall demand and pricing factor do indicate a IRR on the similar lines.
Okay, so I mean 18 to 19% IRR is something what we'll be able to maintain for even this year, irrespective.
We are hopeful of that at this stage. Yeah.
Okay. Also, sir, I think before pandemic, we had alluded that we'd grow, say, 5x in the next 5 years, which I, of course, understand has been disrupted because of the situation. But do we think we have stuff in place to do that over the next 5 years?
We are definitely. So, if you look at the structural change that we've made over the last 2 years, where we had a lot more dependence on syndication and deal-based business, we've moved significantly into more B2C-led and recurring revenue streams, like on the digital side or even on traditional side, whether through broadcast business or other businesses that we have. So that we feel paves the way for a strong growth in the coming years. I can say that that our team is extremely passionate and motivated to deliver strong growth and to chase is not the right word, but to work towards a strong growth over the next few years. And also I would say that given the focus on the B2C part of the business, the brand's own journey that we have mapped over the last couple of years, and the strength of the content library that we have, and that has clearly kind of played out even during the pandemic in terms of numbers, cash flow, etc. And we are definitely aiming for a very strong growth forward.
Right, sir. And if you could also tell us your revenues from YouTube, and because our subscription has been growing consistently and that channel has been doing quite well, if you could just help us understand the revenues from YouTube.
So while we've not been giving the exact revenue number, broadly what I can say is that from the digital media business, YouTube would be now at about between 50 to 60% of the revenue. Telco would be roughly in the range of about 10 odd %, and the rest would be combination of syndication and the Shemaroo.
Okay. That's all from my side, so I'll come back in the queue.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Siddhant Vattha from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Just two questions I had. First of all, traditional media. If you see the past 12 quarters, so for the first half, 6 quarters till the second 2Q FY20, the average revenues were 97, around 97 crores, 98, 97 crores, and for the next 6 quarters it fell to 47 crores. I know there is the COVID impact and the slowdown in the economy and everything. So what target are you achieving? Because just wanted to know a ballpark number. Which do you think that we will reach the 97 crore mark, because you have added the broadcasting business also in your portfolio? So just wanted to know, how do you see growth in the traditional media business?
See, when if you break up the 97 crore on a monthly basis, that works to between 30-35 crores kind of revenue. And obviously, at this point, we are probably at around 50% of that. Now, the question is, what is the journey from here to there and beyond? Is that the question, if I understand correct?
Yeah, because as we have also discussed in the previous, that the telco revenues are dropping, but the broadcasting business has come. So just wanted to know how much that will compensate.
Yeah, just to clarify, the telco revenues are in the digital business, and there we've now kind of in a way moved beyond telco and are on a growth path, at least from this quarter onward. But so on the traditional media side, two things have definitely impacted. One is the overall slowdown in syndication revenue that has affected us. Even pre-COVID, previous 2 quarters, we had that challenge because as we all recall, when we entered COVID also, the economy was on a downturn at that point in time. So that affected the business. We are definitely looking forward for that part to revive, maybe not to that peak levels or something, but definitely be on a certain path. But more importantly for us, strategically, we looked at the broadcast business to kind of create a much stronger brand connect as well as a more predictable and stable revenue stream. Now, broadcast business itself has a certain gestation period, and to come, we got hit by COVID even in this current quarter. We are looking at, I cannot give a forward guidance on that, but definitely traditional media, in fact, we believe that it has the potential to reach that number and probably surpass that over the next few quarters. I'm not in a position to give you a clear guidance on that. More than anything else, right now, it's inappropriate for me to give a forward guidance. But we have mapped few, forward strategies, and that path is there. Of course, there are certain external challenges and environments related to the COVID and economic revival linked to that. So, it is definitely, being in within that economic environment, operating within that economic environment, we are dependent on that to that extent. But if that happens, I think we have fairly strong levers in place.
Okay. And do you have any some one-offs in the first quarter of FY21 because
we had some carry forward deals of previous year which were kind of booked in that Q1 of FY21. If we take that effect off, we probably would have a marginal growth on a year-on-year basis.
Okay. And so just generally, because what I am understanding is, because if you see, the second COVID wave had a less impact than the first COVID wave.
Correct.
The broadcasting business must have grown around in double digits or there won't be any marginal growth. So if there is a strong growth in the broadcasting business, and if we exclude and we see like to like, there is a marginal growth. So which business is shrinking? Just I wanted to know that.
No, broadcasting business definitely got affected because of this. Because as I said, literally by the time March ended, the second wave had kind of set in, and that impact was felt throughout the quarter. And some part of the growth gap that we are seeing is, I mean, in fact, bulk of the growth gap, I would say, is from that aspect only.
No, because first quarter last year was also a very depressed base, and what other companies or other competitors are saying is that mostly there is a double, like there's a 100% revenue growth or something, like a radio company is also reporting 50-60% advertisement revenue growth YOY. So if there is a 30% revenue growth or any big amount, there must be 10% revenue growth in the broadcasting business. So I just wanted to know, so is any segment in the traditional media declining? That's what I am asking.
No, so as I said, there were few carry forward deals in Q1 FY21, which if I take it off from the base, then there is a growth. So the core business has grown. It's the deal based part which in the previous year has affected the base.
Okay. And can you just, if possible, can you give me the debt number? What's the net, outstanding debt as per June 30th or the current outstanding debt?
Yeah. So June 30th, that is 257 crores.
257 crores. And
March was 268, so it's about 11 crores lesser.
So has the debt peaked off, or do you think FY22 the debt will peak off?
Based on everything we are seeing right now, we believe that the debt has peaked off probably in the Jan to March quarter.
Okay. Thank you so much.
We think that there is definitely over the next few quarters, as some of the businesses, at least even if the economy comes back, I think there is good room for unwinding of debt.
No, okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Deepak Poddar from Sapphire Capital. Please go ahead. Mr. Poddar, may we request you to please go ahead with the question?
Thank you very much. Sir, you have been talking about strong growth over the next 2-3 years as you expect business to pick up. Now, if I see your historical performance, maybe at the peak that we did in FY19 in terms of top line and even the performance. So is there any thought process that we want to reach that standard of performance that we did maybe in FY19? So any thought process on that would be helpful.
Yeah. So as I was explaining to one of the earlier questions, it's the same thought, that continuation of the same thought, that see, what we've done in last about 2 years is a big shift in our business itself, from a much more deal dependent business to a much more stable, predictable cash flow and revenue kind of business, which includes many of the different revenue streams that we built over the last 3 years or so. And the whole thought process right now for us in terms of the focus is to accelerate further on that path much more than get into doing a few deal-based things for maybe some short-term kind of a gain. Rather, we focusing on the on this path much more is giving much more cash flow, giving much more brand salience, and it's adding overall to the predictability of the business. Now, at what point we will reach that past top line, we don't know. Obviously, we are on that path and we intend to do it as early as possible. But doing it through a trading route of deal-based business, or doing it through building brick by brick these different revenue streams, that's the strategic shift that we have been talking about in the last 2 years or so. Of course, there is another aspect, that how the economy shapes up, because media entertainment sector is ultimately a highly economy dependent sector, and to that extent, how the economy shapes up and grows will definitely impact how fast we are able to reach that point.
Yeah, understood that point. And then even on the margin front, how do you see, like we are way off whatever peak margins have been. So any comment on that?
So as I shared in my opening comments, that if we look at net of investments, actually that core business margins are actually back to around 30, or in fact between 27%, although this quarter we did even more than that, but still what we've been talking of. It's the new investments which have weighed down the overall profitability itself. Since we have treated all these expenses as revenue expenditure, none of them have been capitalized. So that's one of the reasons why the margins picture is looking lower than what the core business has been kind of generating. Now, as and when these businesses at least turn the or get into a next phase post the investment phase, then based on their own journey, we will see whatever the weighted average margins are getting generated. But again, if you look at what we are working on over here as an organization or as a team, is really about taking the building those different revenue segments with a much stronger consumer connect, and that's something that we believe that is something that will hold us really strongly over the next many years.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, that's from my side. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhwanil Desai from Turtle Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, then. Good afternoon.
Hi.
So 3 questions. So the first one, it's more like continuation of the answer that you gave to earlier question. So what you are saying is that essentially you are trying to build a revenue stream which is far more consistent and not so much transaction based. So if I look at the numbers, our traditional media business for anywhere between 350 to 400 crores, pre FY20, and a large part of that was a syndication business. So if we adopt this approach, does it mean that to reach to that level, our broadcasting business has to actually go at a 150 crore odd levels to reach to FY19 kind of number?
Yes, probably that. Plus, of course, the digital media business also would be contributing to the growth, which is already something that we have been seeing. If we actually see the impact of the telco business, or if we compute it net of the telco business impact, that business has actually been growing at more than 25, in fact, probably around 30% kind of a thing for last few years. Even so, I'm saying it's both combination. Yes, telco, the broadcast business will have to generate a certain number, and second is the digital business which is also on a growth path.
Okay, but so in this equation, we essentially are either by choice or because of the change in environment are assuming that the syndication business may not go back to earlier levels, or we may not want to take it to earlier levels, whichever way you want to put it. But is that a fair assumption to make?
Yeah, I agree, and it's actually more the second, more the latter than the former. That is true, that strategically, because to that extent, it's a capital allocation decision also, and to that extent, it's also a business model kind of question. So with both that combination, the focus from syndication would be definitely lower. We have a large library, and therefore we will not be making it. We'll not be moving completely out of it or away from it, but definitely it would be consciously has been on the B2C part, and we've been talking about it virtually quarter on quarter in terms of where we are looking to invest.
Right. Yeah. So second question is on this broadcast business. I think every quarter we gave the bond rate for the new businesses, which is around 15 to 16 crores. So any kind of a see-through in terms of at least one of the channels becoming break-even, or this bond rate going down significantly in next few quarters? How do you guys think about that?
So originally we were looking at a much shorter break-even path, but obviously COVID and the whole ad spend scenario, thanks to COVID, has changed that. I would say that, and in fact last quarter also, there was a discussion on this, and someone had asked this question, and I had said that because of the wave 2, something that we were probably looking for a break-even, as early as Q1 or Q2 in one of the channels of FY22, maybe shifted by 3 to maybe even 6 months, somewhere in that range. The other channel, so both the break-evens have in a way moved 3 to maybe 6 months. There are a lot of changes and new things that we have been working on programming, on distribution, on marketing front, on both the channels. Including, we are introducing some, interesting programming changes on Marathi, literally, in the next few weeks, and we are, so there is a, lot of change and movement happening. I'm hopeful that we should be on a good path on both the channels. So, and I would also add on Marathi, I think overall we've established a brand connect with the consumer and advertiser extremely well. We are benchmarking with the top channels in terms of, and for a channel which is, less than 2 years, in fact, just about 15 to 18 month old, this has been achieved in a very, very short period. And on the Hindi front, definitely it's a much more competitive scenario, and to that extent, it has been a little slower than what we would have liked it to be. And again, over there's a bunch of changes that are, that are in the works, or rather already in action or in motion, I would say. So we are hopeful that over the next 2 or maybe 3 quarters, we should be in a good position on this business.
Okay. Just one suggestion here. So we had spent quite a bit of money in terms of building this broadcasting-based business. If you can share some quantitative data points, be it viewership, be it revenue, it would be really helpful in terms of understanding the direction. I understand these are all nascent businesses, but still, for us to understand direction, quantitative, data will be very helpful. So if you can do it would be very helpful.
We'll try and see how we can incorporate as much of that. I take on board your suggestion.
Sure. And last question is on Shemaroo. So I think you guys are trying to build a very good platform on the Gujarati, as a regional language.
Yeah.
Can you again give us some kind of a data points in terms of the subscriber base, where it is today, where you want to take it, how large the market you see, and most of the OTT platforms, even after a scale, keeps on burning money. So I assume that we also must be burning money on that. So how do you guys think about scaling up and continue to spend money and not make money? How do you guys think from 3 to 5 year perspective?
Okay. I'll try and answer that question. So obviously, the digital video services or OTT services, as they are popularly known as, is a very strongly emerging space overall. If we see so at this point, we don't have clear current numbers, but if we look at some of the projections and overall space over the next 5 years, this is expected to be a business upwards of $5 billion as an overall OTT video space. Now, within that, the way we see it is that India is a heterogeneous country or a heterogeneous market, and there is scope for segmentation of on language, on many other user on other interest kind of groups basis, and we decided to so we looked at 2-3 aspects. One is, of course, is the scalability available? Second is that do we have a right to win? And Gujarati emerged as a natural choice for us because of the massive content library that we were already sitting on, and the strong brand connect that the local audience, Gujarati speaking audience, had with us. So to that extent, it became a natural choice for us. Now, if we see Gujarati speaking population is roughly around 4 to 5% of India's population. Within that, we see that so there are 2 other factors. One is that spending power overall higher over last few years. Gujarat has seen a much stronger growth as a state in comparison to rest of the country. So and it continues to see that higher per capita state GDP kind of growth, in which case the spending power of Gujarat is probably likely to be much higher than that of rest of the country, and or among the higher, more better spending states, let's put it that way. It may not be the number 1 state, but it will be among the top few states. Secondly, if we see in terms of content offering, is very, very limited because there's just one general entertainment channel and one movie channel in Gujarat. There is, unlike most other regions, whether you talk of the South languages or even other languages like Bengali, Oriya, even these languages have much more television and other content, entertainment offerings compared to what Gujarat has. And therefore, we clearly saw a need gap that is available to be filled up. And with this, so we've obviously started with a certain assumption and with a certain base thought process in mind. I fully understand and agree that with you that to that extent, in the initial few quarters, it is an investment, or a negative cash flow kind of a business. But as we move along, we expect that gap to reduce. A. B. I would also say that we have tried to stay as frugal as possible in terms of overall. So whether it's platform costs, whether it's marketing costs, whether it's content costs, on all the three fronts, we've tried to stay as frugal as possible and still, create a multiplier effect in terms of impact. Because we understand that we are playing the regional game and not the national game over here. So therefore, the economics, will for regional is bound to be much different from national, and that's something that our team very well understands, and to that extent, we've been looking to play within that within those boundaries. But we know and understand that till we don't reach a certain critical mass of scale, it is going to remain a negative cash flow or an investment it is going to remain in an investment phase or a negative cash flow kind of a phase. So yeah, that's broadly the way I would look at it. Also, I would like to add, sorry, Kranti is adding something.
I also want to say that by going for a segmented approach, so Gujarati is the first segment that we have greenlit. But by going for a segmented approach, we're kind of steering away from the very over-competitive mainstream, space, which is being fought with, with very, very deep pockets, and the burn over there is multifold.
Yeah.
And the stickiness over here is higher because you're serving a segmented, base with, kind of serving them in the best way that they would want. That's the difference.
Yeah. I would also add one more thing. Interestingly, this applies much more for Gujarat or Gujarati language, is that actually Gujarati language is, three markets. So one is people in Gujarat, other is Gujaratis outside Gujarat, and third is Gujaratis outside India. And all three have have an interesting, spending power and an interesting scale. I mean, US, for example, or UK, for example, both have very strong Gujarati-speaking, fairly good Gujarati-speaking community numbers. So to that extent, the Gujarati language does offer us additional markets that we could look at, which many other languages may not necessarily have, that kind of a thing.
Okay, got it. Very useful, Hiren and Kranti. Thanks a lot. All the best.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Participants, to ask a question, please press star and 1 now. The next question is from the line of Rohit Trivedi from an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Hiren and Kranti. This is Rohit here. So my first question is concerning market pricing of movie titles currently. So let's put it like this. We had kind of like 2.5 years of inventory built up phase where we acquired a lot of movie and other titles. So let's put it like this, that if we kind of say that during that time, the pricing of the movie titles were 100, right, on an average, then for the same or similar titles right now, what would be the costing? Would it be 100 minus 10%, 100 plus 10, 20%? So how is the current market pricing for the same or similar content that we acquired during the built-up phase?
I would, based on recent transactions that we've seen, or even some of the negotiations or discussions that we are having currently, the pricing would be at 100 plus at least 20% more at this point in time.
Right. Then second question is kind of right on the similar line concerning our content acquisition strategy pre and post-COVID, right? Because pre-COVID, the situation was completely different. There was not much prevalent of OTT platforms and other platforms, while post-COVID, the taste of the audience has changed. A lot of OTT have entered into the game. OTT have penetrated very nicely into kind of certain regional segment as well. So how have we steered our content acquisition strategy in the kind of current situation? Has it So let's say kind of right for the like-to-like content, right? What are the content that are we acquiring, and what is the cost of that?
So 2 or 3 parts to your question. Firstly, I would say that as far as the core Bollywood offering is concerned, we have not really seen any major shift in audience tastes and preferences or consumption preferences. For example, if a Jab We Met is being consumed, on television in a certain way or on traditional media in a certain way, on digital also it is being consumed with the same in the same manner. And this is just one example. Or if a movie is not being consumed here, it's not getting consumed there also. And whatever we are experiencing or seeing in terms of the consumption of films continues to stay extremely strong. What the newer OTT services that have added is the web series part, which in a different way, if we mirror it with TV, it kind of reflects the general entertainment, TV show. Instead of a TV series, there is a web series, which is a different storytelling format than TV series is concerned. Film format actually has stayed as it is in a way, and been in terms of consumption, etc., has continued to be a very strong consumption. So to that extent, content which is connecting well with the audience connects by and large, we have observed across all media, whether it's television or digital media or even on YouTube, etc. And we've, our teams are mining data on a continuous basis across all media, all platforms. We are our own consumption, so across our own platform or many other platforms. So across that, we have, we are actually seeing a continuation of that same trend play out broadly. So to that extent, we are happy that the content strategy that we overall followed in terms of looking at marquee content, owning a large formidable library is playing out, and that in a way, as we discussed earlier, also has reflected in the growth of the digital media revenues during this quarter also. So that is one part. I would add one other aspect is that specific to digital, we have been having few acquisitions or tie-ups of content so we did, for example, launch something called Bollywood Premiere, where we we've been doing small low budget films, low cost films at which in terms of curation of content based on the tastes and preferences of the digital audiences who are willing to try out newer things, willing to experiment, etc. And that's something that continues, for us. So that's one of the things that we've done. Another thing which we've done, as we've even shared in this quarter's announcement, is that we've done. So we've, for example, looked at distributing some of the different series on various digital platforms, and one of the announcements we've even made in this quarter is these Alma Matters inside the IIT Dream that we've distributed to Netflix during this quarter.
Yeah, so thank you, Hiren. I mean, in terms of digital revenue, the numbers match to your description, but traditional media, is there some missing link? Because your description and numbers say something completely different story. Not I'm talking about kind of last quarter, year-to-year comparison, but even quarter-to-quarter. So last quarter for traditional media, it was 40 crore. This quarter, it has come down to 34 crore, which is kind of a degrowth of 25%, even after your kind of comments that both the channels are doing very well and everything. If both the channels are doing very well in the broadcast media, and if the content is relevant that we are serving, then that means the syndication revenue has come down significantly. And if the syndication revenue has come down significantly, that means the syndication content is either not at all relevant, or the broadcasters like Z and all are not interested in our content, right? So, because if they are interested, then that should get reflected into traditional media revenue as well. It should be at least stable, right, as compared to Q4 of 21. So where is the missing link?
No, as I said earlier also that one of the key missing links was the fact that, and this was in fact, we had discussed this even during last quarter, that the impact of COVID wave 2 will be visible in the next quarter on the advertising revenue side, because we clearly saw a slowdown in advertising revenue. So what advertising revenue we had from Jan to March, and which was reflected in Q4, has significantly come off in spite of, irrespective of ratings, spends on by advertisers during wave 2 was lower, and that clearly has had an impact on the revenue streams, on the revenue of the channels. Secondly, as far as the syndication piece is concerned, please understand that it's the same channel who is also, or rather, the buyer, my buyer for syndication part of the content is also dependent on the same advertising revenue that we discussed, which kind of came off, and to that extent, they are also facing lower revenue, lower profitability, and lower cash flows, and therefore, to that extent, there is a pause or a stop on their various buying activities. So that's something that we have we have seen, and we have kind of faced during this quarter as well. So it's not about whether the content is relevant or not. It's right now that people do not have the given the whole economic scenario and the advertising spends getting slowed down, there is the industry is seeing a lowering of the business, and that is reflected in their own spends and activity.
Great. My last question is, so going forward, it seems from your commentary that Shemaroo Marathibana and Shemaroo TV would be kind of the key growth drivers and revenue and cash flow contributor for us. So let's not take a short-term view. Let's take a medium to long-term view. Like let's think about 4 to 6 quarters ahead. What would be the IRR if Shemaroo Marathibana is not on the top 5 and Shemaroo TV GEC is not in the top 10 of the free TV channel list? Because in the current way that it is going on, and I had a peek at the TRP data and everything, it seems that they won't be able to crack the top 5 and top 10 respectively. So if even that doesn't happen, whether the channels would be profitable or not 4 to 6 quarters ahead, and what would be the IRR? Would it be 18% that we have benchmarked or not?
So there are two things that we are looking at. One is, what is the space? What is the revenue potential of the underlying segment that we are addressing or playing in? Now, Marathi, the estimates in a normal year are about 800 to 1,000 crore of advertising revenue for the Marathi pie, and in the Hindi general entertainment space, the advertising pie revenue is estimated upwards of 7,000 crores. So one is, these are the two segments that we are playing. We have confidence that these both the channels will be able to generate an IRR upwards of 18% down the line. We are in a extraordinary situation where the ad spends are extremely erratic, where the confidence of many of the brands' own underlying businesses, etc., have been challenged due to COVID. and even when things were kind of seeming to come back during the Jan to March quarter, and everyone was in fact hopeful of a reasonably good 21-22. We just at that point we got hit by a second wave of COVID, and that definitely has affected advertising revenue across the entire economy, I would say.
Great, thanks a lot. Just two quick suggestions, if I may, Hiren. One is related to numbers. I have requested this kind of right often into the con call. I'm reiterating that again, because for anyone to really map that what is going on, along with the qualitative management commentary that is often rosy in nature, it is always kind of right better to give some numbers, some indication kind of right to the community so that we know that what is going on. So for example, kind of right anything related to how is the Shemaroo Me subscription going on, right, how the broadcasting kind of right, both the channels are playing out in terms of TRP, in terms of revenue, in terms of kind of right, any quantitative number that could be compared over a period of time would help us to better get the map of the business, so to say. That is number one. And number two is I have reached out to your office, to you by email, and to LRM Advisor by email also, and by phone to kind of right have a short meeting, and I have never received any reply whatsoever, even not negative, which is a bit surprise to me. So I believe something should be looked out to that, right? If the management is kind of right too busy and not ready to meet, that's perfectly fine. But then a kind of right short and humble no kind of right like other companies are doing would be expected at least. Thank you.
Sure. I'm sorry about that. I don't seem to have, I don't recall seeing a mail, but I'll recheck in my mailbox again. But I will anyway get our IR firm to be in touch with you on that.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Part I have noted, and we will see how best we can represent that data.
Yeah, sure. We are not looking for any competitive information which would harm the interest of the company, because we are also shareholders, right? So, and long-term in nature. So that's what is not something we are expecting. But as a kind of right part of the company, as a stakeholder, we should also be getting some information about the direction that company is going on. I hope you understand.
Sure. Noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nayan Shah from NL Services. Please go ahead.
Hi, and thanks for giving this opportunity. What I want to know, I think so. First of all, thanks, because this whole call was very informative and gave a lot of perspective about the company and where we are headed in future. So first of all, thanks. I know it was a challenging time for the company, and the way you guys are managing it's appreciated. My only question is, as a shareholder, because as a shareholder, what I look for is the value and how my investments are headed. So just wanted to know, considering in terms of the subcategories, right, in our firm, the digital part is doing it is on the growth trajectory. So are there any plans to split the digitization business and list that particular part of the business in future, because that can create a lot of value, and that's the niche segment where we don't have any other peers listed on the bourses. So just wanted to know, are there any such thoughts which will add a lot of stakeholder value and the shareholders?
At this point, there is no such plan. But we keep looking at the strategies from time to time. But I would definitely say at this point, it's not on the card.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dwanil Desai from Total Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, just one follow-up, based on the discussion and the answers that you gave. So typically our content strategy, acquisition strategy has been where we acquire second cycle and subsequent cycle movies, right? But let's say if our intent is to build a more consistent revenue streams and syndication, less and less reliance on syndication, don't you think our content strategy also needs to be adopted slightly differently, and also there may be an opportunity to kind of monetize some of the content which we may think that will give you some firepower in terms of scaling up the more strategic business units faster?
So to answer your second question, Dhanil, is that we are definitely seeing still opportunities to monetize the content through syndication opportunities, because I can say one thing is that there are many platforms or many relationships or deals, etc., that we are doing. It's on the strength of a larger scale or order of magnitude of library that we are able to offer to many platforms. Now, if I can for the short term take some some of it and part with it or something, but that kind of would compromise the strategic impact that we can derive on many deals at this point in time. So if we weigh the cost benefit of that, we would rather be better off doing syndication deals and getting that revenue. So definitely we are on that path, and generating revenue out of that and investing it onto our newer initiatives. In fact, if you see quarter on quarter, our debt has been coming off. So to that extent, that also indicates that the underlying cash flows are very strong. But whether to part with certain part of the library and reduce the overall strength is something I wouldn't be too comfortable. In fact, I don't think we should be doing it at this point in time, because there are many times many interesting things that keep coming up on the library part in terms of monetization, because it's a very dynamic situation. Kranti.
Dhanil, I also want to state here that the new content, which even for, say for example, Shemaroo Gujarati, we are acquiring new content, right? That may help in marketing the platform, but when the consumer comes onto the platform, you need to give him a very wide variety of content, and the consumer, you will be surprised, watches content from all eras. So I would say even on platforms like the leading platforms, even the mainstream leading platforms that we have where we syndicate content, or we have given on certain we get reports back, we know that the good content is getting consumed as strongly by the consumer. So it's something which keeps the consumer on the platform. It's his daily bread and butter. It's the consumer is not only watching new. The new may be the reason to buy a pack or something like that, but to stay on the pack you need the base, and we are actually being appreciated as a provider of that base across platforms.
Got it. Just I mean, I understand from where you are coming from, but the only question is that, so let's say if you are acquiring 100 rupees of content and everything was second cycle kind of a content, with the new kind of a business model in place, maybe that ratio will change from 100 to 70-30. Is that a fair assumption to make?
So that ratio will definitely change as the business model is changing. But what ratio it will happen, we don't know right now. And to some extent, there's also major cost difference between Hindi and regional languages also. So see, at this point we are very averse to really taking the big ticket Hindi kind of A-list movie bet, because those in many cases we have seen are literally like a binary event, and therefore the risk is over there is significantly high, and just the sheer capital involvement is also significantly high. Rather than that, we have a very good thing going with what we are doing. Stick to that, and keep building, with that what we have. I mean, if you see just the YouTube numbers, for example, in terms of views, etc., consistently it's been growing. It's the same set of second, third, or later cycle content. It's the same audience. It's the digital audience. Everything that we all say, it's still on a month-on-month basis or quarter-on-quarter. It may not be on every month, but quarter-on-quarter basis, the views and monetization, and in a different way. And the reason why we share the YouTube graph is that it's reflective of what's happening in the ecosystem overall. Kranti?
Yeah, also, for example, Hiren spoke about our Bolly Premier service.
Yeah.
If we were going to complete 100 weeks and almost 2 years, there we have given one digital premiere every week to the consumer. So to that extent, we've added those 100 movies to our digital library.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Very helpful.
Sure.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as this was the last question for today, I now hand the conference over to Mr. Hiren Gada from Shemaroo Entertainment Limited for closing comments.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for participating. I think we had a very good discussion. It definitely was a challenging quarter, Q1 of FY22, but we are hopeful that if the third wave doesn't, happen in in an ugly way, I think the economy should do well, and therefore the media entertainment sector should benefit from that. Thank you very much. See you next quarter.
Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Shemaroo Entertainment Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.